So, you're so sorry. You're so sorry. Say it to my face, you're sorry. And I quit my job for you. Even quit some friends for you. Cause you couldn't stand it, me all independent. So you had to have me for yourself. That was when I trusted you. When I could add up 2 and 2. When you promised we'd be together, you, me, forever. Now there's nothing left to lose. And though I understand it's hard sometimes to make up your mind in these trying times, yeah. I just can't accept you leaving me when I'm overseas with the heart so heavy. Think that I deserve the truth for once, not a guilty tone, cause you're not alone, yeah. You said you wanna come home, but I know you don't. So this time I won't hear it on the phone. If you got something to say to me, then say it to my face. What it's all about, why you're bailing out. Think you owe me an apology. Just say it to my face. You're sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. Say it to my face. You're sorry.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Today is Tuesday, August 31st, 2021. We begin not only in Afghanistan, we begin also with COVID-19, and we have a trifecta in this country, in our situation as Black people, where we're faced with the intersection of so many different confluences of bigotry and white supremacy along the lines of capitalism and colonialism. We are facing so many different intersections at any given point. There's a lot to unpack, and it's manifesting itself in what we see happening with COVID-19. It's manifesting itself in what we're seeing in Afghanistan, and it is certainly manifesting itself in what we see as Black people. in this country. But first, let's begin with On the Clock with Georgia Ford.
It was the deadline that President Biden announced for withdrawing all troops from Afghanistan. Many questioned his strategy and wondered would he stick to it after three deadly attacks at the airport claimed the lives of 13 U.S. service members and left more than 100 Afghans dead. This morning, we check in with an update from General Kenneth McKenzie, the commander of U.S. Central Command.
I'm here to announce the completion of our withdrawal from Afghanistan and the end of the military mission to evacuate American citizens, third country nationals, and vulnerable Afghans. The last C-17 lifted off from Hamid Karzai International Airport on August 30th, this afternoon, at 3:29 p.m. East Coast time. Look, there's a lot of heartbreak associated with this departure. We did not get everybody out that we wanted to get out. But I think if we'd stayed another 10 days, Louis, we wouldn't have gotten everybody out that we wanted to get out. And there still would have been people who would have been disappointed with that. But I want to emphasize again that simply because we have left, that doesn't mean the opportunities for both Americans that are in Afghanistan that want to leave and Afghans who want to leave, they will not be denied that opportunity. I think our Department of State is going to work that very hard in the days and weeks ahead.
Can you assure the American public that every single U.S. service member is now out of Afghanistan?
Every single U.S. service member is now out of Afghanistan. I can say that with 100% certainty.
So there it is, the update right from General Commander Kenneth McKenzie. You know, all of the U.S. troops are out of Afghanistan now, Ben, and this marks the end of the longest war. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about this coming to an end?
You know, this is a significant culmination of a period in American history where we have two generations: the generation that was alive on 9/11, the generation that was born that day and going forward, that we all intersected into the same war. Children born on 9/11 served in this war. It was time. But we do also have to consider the opposite side of this. While I do look at what Joe Biden has done, and I look at it favorably, because it was what had to be done, there is the flip side of it, and that is the concern for the lives of all of the people who did not get out. And as the general was speaking there, categorizing it as a disappointment, the fact is that disappointment is coupled with tragedy and trauma for families who missed the flight. And so I'm not so readily to dismiss it as a disappointment so much as the stories and lives of all the people who are now trapped behind those lines.
You know, I was reading the stories from some of the people who did leave, and there was a women's rights activist who said that in order to get to the airport, she walked through the sewer pipe
Mm,
for miles.
mm.
And another story that you heard a father explaining to his son that the gunfire was a celebration to try to ease his child from worry or concern about his own safety. And so when you read those stories, and then I juxtapose that with seeing people gather in front of the White House when I was in DC this weekend and forming their own protest
That's
to
right.
protect Afghans, because we already have a population of Afghans in our nation. And these are their brothers, their
That's right.
sisters, their mothers, their cousins, their uncles, their friends that now they have to worry about, and
Yeah.
the other side of that is, what is the Taliban's plan going forward? I know you've spoken extensively about them being acknowledged as the official government entity. What is their plan with governing this nation going forward?
Well, then now that's a complicated question and a great question, because what is the plan of any governing authority in a region? It is to have the monopoly on violence within that region, and that's a definition from Max Weber, who put it as such. It is the legitimate monopoly on violence. And so in the United States, we see that as the police state. And that's what Black people intersect with every single day. In Afghanistan, under the rule of the Taliban, you can be assured that they are going to carry out a far right wing, theocratic style government that aligns with the doctrine of their interpretation of Islam, which is quite antithetical to so many Muslims across the globe. But that is a conversation for their community to have. But as it pertains to what they plan to do, they plan to be a legitimately recognized state on the international stage, the legitimate regime there. But that does not mean that they are not going to wield their power as a bludgeoning tool over the people over whom they rule.
Is that is it safe? When you talk about the type of violence and the level of violence and the consistent use of violence that we've seen from the Taliban, that I think for me that is the concern. I get it in saying that they're going to have the monopoly on the use
Mhm.
of violence, but what we've seen from them historically is that they use violence often.
Yeah, yeah. And this is where this is the crux of the situation, right? And this is where we can see multiple sides to the argument. And and while Brother Mac is not here, his argument is still resounding very loudly. You have to take in consideration the people who are going to be the receiving end of that monopoly on violence that is now being wielded by the Taliban. And in so much as they subscribe to a fundamentalist interpretation of Islam, that, just like the fundamentalist interpretation of Christianity, is oppressive to women. Because let's be sure, we are just one Supreme Court decision away from losing a woman's right to choose in this country. And while some people may not consider that as violence, it is a step towards violence that is the same ideology. That far right wing fundamentalist interpretation of any religion is a threat to humanity. So
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
catch 22.
Before we switch gears here, we're anticipating that President Biden will make a statement addressing the withdrawal from Afghanistan. What do you think he's going to touch on?
He's going to try to validate his strategy. But one thing about Joe Biden, he is a curmudgeonly old guy, and he's not going to apologize for any of this. And I don't think he should in this case, because this is the best that you can make out of a soup sandwich that was the entire war on terror. We had no right to be there as an occupying force for 20 years, no more than we have the right to be an occupying force in Korea, not North Korea, but in Korea in general, and the occupying force across the globe in so many places for the last decades. Right? The United States has made a soup sandwich on the international stage, and Joe Biden got stuck with the hot potato. I do not believe he's going to apologize, nor do I think he should.
Well, they are saying that it's caused his ratings to go down. People calling it a failure. People saying that they don't believe in his leadership after this exit strategy. But I lean more on the side of, yeah, how did people expect it to go?
Right.
And how much longer did people expect us to stay?
That's
I
right.
think the thing that concerns me is, now what is the strategy moving forward? Do do the folks with the military intelligence feel that those airstrikes got the folks who were responsible for the explosions at the airport that ultimately took the life of 13 US service members? My question, and I don't know if he's going to address this, but what I want to hear from him today is, do they plan to continue using force in Afghanistan
Mhm.
because of those 3 attacks? Or
Vis-a-vis
did they
drones.
get who they were looking for in the airstrike?
That's right. Right. And while the United States may not have troops on the ground, one thing we have cavalierly wielded across the international stage is our ability to access any region through drone strikes. So the real question is, are we going to continue drone strikes in Afghanistan? And I'm quite sure that might not be a question is going to be willing to answer today. But it would
Yeah,
be a
well,
great question from
I
a
mean,
journalist.
but he threw that information out so carelessly, in response to the first explosions. he was very candid that we are not going to forgive
Right.
and that we will get whoever is
Right.
responsible,
Right.
which I think was, I guess, for that felt like it was more for the American people to
Oh yeah.
have confidence in him than it was
Uh,
actually for um, military strategy. Because why would you ever want your opponent to know what you're up to?
at the risk of being called a neoliberal, I'm reminded of a scene from The American President, Michael Douglas, and he is faced with the decision, a fictional decision of whether or not he should strike a country. The military industrial complex in that movie demanded a certain level of language and bellicosity, and we see that is real. That is not that is not art imitating life. That is, well, you got it. I have to flip and reverse it. That is the reality of our military industrial complex. It is present in reality right there in Joe Biden's ear. He is having to grapple with the reality again that we have to get out of there. But there is a infrastructure around Joe Biden that is demanding blood because they profit off of it. And so in their closing salvo, they had a drone strike. And whether or not there's a justification of it, in that movie, Michael Douglas said that at a certain point, we have to not appear strong. We have to be strong. And sometimes being strong means we can take it on the chin and walk away because striking at the last hour is sufficient to create more problems in the future. So I agree with you, Georgia. As convoluted as long as it took for me to get that point out, the fact is that Joe Biden could have shown a new level of strength that is required for leadership in this international stage. And that is the ability to not strike back, because of course we have the capacity to go in there and obliterate them. But do we have to demonstrate that at every opportunity?
And at the cost of 7 children who were killed in that airstrike.
That's right. That's right.
I do want to acknowledge the troops who have been fighting for our country over the last 20 years, the veterans, those who have served to protect us. This conversation has largely become political and about Biden and about the Taliban. But American troops have sacrificed time with their families, time away from home, and their lives to keep us safe. And so I want to center them this morning and just, if you have fought in a war, or if you spent any time there, we appreciate you. Know that.
Yeah.
Turning now, a Pennsylvania congressional candidate, Teddy Daniels, has a lot to say about the pandemic, and he's on the side that is fueling a lot of the, I'll say, controversy. Take a listen.
This is still America, Tucker. Okay, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask.
Yeah.
If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. That's what makes this country great with the vaccines. If you've had that conversation with your doctor and you feel a vaccine is the best route for you, go for it. Cool. But for those that don't, that's also cool. Let people live their lives.
Wait, but shouldn't we kill people who don't get the vaccine?
Well, that's what the left wants to do.
Yeah, I've noticed.
That's what they want to do. I see a bunch of states right now, they're looking, New York City just did it, the vaccine passport. They're going to start enacting it if you want to go to restaurants. Who the hell does this? Seriously.
I guess if you allow people totally unlimited power and no one ever pushes back, I haven't seen a Republican in Congress fight against this. The governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, who's supposed to be the great conservative hope, she said yesterday, well, I'm not going to sign a bill that prevents vaccine mandates because vaccines are good.
I think.
And you're like, well, I thought, wait a second, Kristi Noem, what about the freedom you said you were going to defend?
Yeah.
Nope.
The government's response when this whole pandemic started should have been this. Now, you got to remember, I come from the communist state of Pennsylvania to where they divided people from essential and non-essential employees.
I remember very well.
Okay? And this business can stay open, but this one has to close.
Right.
Do you know how many people lost their businesses, Tucker?
So maybe controversy wasn't the correct choice of word. Maybe propaganda
Mm,
would serve him better.
mm.
But we're seeing this continued. I don't know if you saw the air quotes around
That's it.
pandemic,
That's right.
but you've been sharing this, Ben. I've been seeing this in the afternoons. You're posting about radio personalities and pastors who were anti-vaccine, anti-mask, who have now died to COVID.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so to see this rhetoric, to see this propaganda, not just on YouTube, but this is on Tucker Carlson's show.
That's right. That's right. Tucker Carlson has millions of viewers every single day. And I would argue, Georgia, that controversial should be the word, right? The way we should look at this in society is controversial, but we don't because we have become accustomed to the propaganda to the extent that one of the most popular hosts in the country, Tucker Carlson, is able to peddle conspiracy theories as along with snake oil, the ivermectin. He's a part of that narrative, and now they're promoting this idea that is so. But I want to hold the pin there. The flip side of this is I never expected them to believe their own lies, and I think that's what you're getting to, because you have conservative radio hosts and pastors and politicians who are getting sick with COVID-19 and actually dying from it. And so my thing is, it's one thing for this to be propaganda, but it should not only be controversial, but I think it should be such an anathema to us that we see this as people who have dispensed with their sense of survival. They are killing themselves because of their politics.
Oh yeah, and this guy, he's running for office. Teddy Daniels, he's a congressional candidate, and what is dangerous is the fact that he's putting this out there. If he gets support and he gets in, this is another vote.
That's right.
This is another
That's right.
vote that impacts the lives of those who live in Pennsylvania.
That's right.
This is another political force that impacts the national stage as well. He also served, and thanks to David for pointing this out, served the Trump campaign as the Northeast U.S. Director of Vets for Trump.
Mm, and that makes
So
sense.
he's well versed, and he has support, not just in his district, but because of that connection with Trump, he has a lot of national affiliations as well.
Yeah.
So he had his sphere of influence is vast, and here you have this man putting air quotes on a pandemic that has killed how many people nationally
Getting
and
close to
internationally?
we're
And
coming.
you wanna
Well,
put
oh
air
my
quotes
goodness.
around that?
Internationally. Sister Ford, when you said internationally, it reminded me of what's happening even in India, right? There are reactionaries all across the globe who have seized power in these countries. And that's what this guy is. He's looking to get another piece, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, of the power structure that is the American empire. And we should be terrified that this is the regime of ignorance that has seized power in the form of the right-wing conservative movement that was championed and heralded by Donald Trump. He is not the creator of that movement, and that movement has gotten so big that it has now eaten him. It is out of control, and the pathway to power and economic privilege for conservatives now is to ignore the reality of a pandemic that has killed nearly 700,000 people in America alone.
And what frustrates me is because then you juxtapose that with candidates like Nina Turner,
Mm,
who were honestly running on truth and
mm,
were running to disrupt change, and how in our community, that can be seen as I don't know, but she's running on truth, and here you
mm.
have someone who is simply just running on propaganda, and the thought that he will actually be elected. He
Yeah,
could actually be elected. It disheartens me because
yeah.
the integrity that's required to be a politician is in this nation is little to none. You don't
Mm,
Integrity is not a requirement,
mm. And
and
it's
I
a
wish
liability.
more people in our community would not feel like they are not qualified. I hear that a lot. People, or I have this in my background, or I don't have the experience. Listen, we have people, Republican hopefuls, who are running on lies and winning.
Mm. Mm. That is the pathway to victory for them. And it has led to many of them not being able to distinguish from the reality that is an objective truth and the reality that they have crafted in their minds that is built on the propaganda that they have gotten over the last 20 years from outlets like Fox News, who is now more than happy to put somewhere to the tune of $8 million a year in the hands of Tucker Carlson because he is a master propagandist. But the problem is that because they no longer can distinguish between their own propaganda and the truth, they're running up against the freight train that is COVID-19. And so while I do hope that they are all vaccinated because them participating in that community-wide activity helps us all, the truth is some of them are dying, and death is pretty permanent. Your political position should be flexible enough to accommodate life, especially from a party that considers itself to be pro-life.
And Tucker Carlson is not the only one who's using his platform. I know we've spoken about him a lot. And if you're not a right winger, you might not even know that some of these shows exist. I want to play a clip really quick from True News. This is another program that is highlighting this type of propaganda.
Think that in America, we are eventually going to face vaccination camps, quarantine camps, punishment for people who choose not to be vaccinated or to vaccinate their children? Do you think parents are going to lose their children? They're going to have them taken away because they're not deemed fit to be parents because they choose not to put an experimental jab in their children?
Yeah, I think we could see that. And you're right. Australia does appear to be a canary in the coal mine. And right, a 3-month time lag sounds about right. Once the fall, what used to be the fall flu season hits, we're going to have mass hysteria. And I know that a lot of parents have already planned for this. They made difficult decisions with their children not to send them back to the public schools here, which are essentially indoctrination and will be quarantine camps themselves. The Scarlet Letter is now a U for young kids, whether they're on K through 12 campuses or college campuses or at the service academies. We essentially have de facto quarantine vaccination camps already.
And so this is stemming from a situation where a parent did lose their rights in Chicago. Take a look at this clip.
It may be a first-of-its-kind case. A Cook County judge here at the Daly Center has stripped a Chicago mom of her parenting rights because she's refused to get the COVID vaccine.
And he is a very sweet boy. He's my whole world.
You miss him?
I miss him more than anything.
Rebecca Furlet has been divorced for 7 years and shares custody of her 11-year-old son with her ex-husband. What had been a 50-50 split in parenting time. But on August 10th, in an unrelated child support hearing, Cook County Judge James Shapiro asked Furlet whether she'd been vaccinated. When she told the judge no because she's had bad reactions to vaccines in the past, Judge Shapiro stripped Furlet of all of her parenting time until she agrees to get vaccinated.
I think that it's wrong. I think that it's dividing families, and I think that it's not in my son's best interest to be away from his mother.
Furlet is now asking the appellate court to stay the judge's order. Her attorney saying the judge has overstepped his authority.
And you have to understand the fact.
I wonder if the judge is related to Ben Shapiro. Just
well, but here's a situation that I see in this one, Georgia. This scenario is. There are a group of parents in this country that are asking for permission to be able to put their children's life at risk of dying from COVID-19, particularly the Delta variant, because that has mutated from what was something that originally was not a significant threat as far as percentages to children. The Delta variant is killing children. And these people are asking for permission because they are their parents to put their children in harm's way. I just need us to observe the absurdity of the moment that we're living in. And I do believe that if you are I'm going to stop there. I can't.
Well, what are your thoughts about specifically this mother losing her rights?
If
Do you
she
think it
was
should
going
go that
to,
far? Should there be that much regulation on vaccines?
death is pretty permanent. And as this continues to mutate, it is becoming more and more clear that because of the ignorance of America and the ignorance of that right-wing reactionary movement that is global, we are going to continue to see variants of COVID-19 morph until the point where we all are going to have to go back into full quarantine, and we would have lost at least 1 million people in this country. If parents are so committed to their desire to not get vaccinated, fine. But do you have the right to put your children's life at risk? Absolutely not.
And so when you looked at that first clip from True News, we saw this exaggeration from a story like this, right? Where it starts out where this parent is losing visitation rights, and then it gets blown up into full blown concentration camps. Now,
That's
there
right.
are no reports of that at this time. And I don't see regulation developing to that level. But Ben, to your point, this is a matter of life and death,
It is.
especially for children now. And so, yeah, I mean, but I will say this. I do think if we're moving in the direction of taking parents their visitation rights away, I do think that we should be moving in the direction of online school again.
Yeah.
To me, that feels very contradictory that you'll be hurting children in these
Yes.
classrooms
Oh, yes.
without having to
Yeah.
wear masks. In some instances, there's a ban on mask mandates. And then the other piece is, that there is not vaccination cards required to go into
Mm.
the schools in some cases. So if we're moving in the direction of holding the parents that responsible, I think we should also be protecting our children and just
Absolutely.
allowing them to do distance learning again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I could not agree more. And herein lies the complicity of the Democratic leadership in the form of Joe Biden. As much as I may agree with the decision to pull out of Afghanistan because of my principled anti-war stance, I also see that there are so many Democratic leaders who have participated in this notion that we should get back to normal by sending our precious children into petri dishes that are public schools. There is no
Absolutely.
part of this that we should be looking at and considering sending our children back into this pandemic. But because we are here to serve the power structure, everyone is saying send our kids back to school. I couldn't agree with you more, Georgia.
Well, it is that time, Ben. I know that you have lots planned for this morning.
Yeah. So coming up in the next block, Stacy Mitchell, co-director at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, and she is the author of The Big Box Swindle. We're going to dig into all of those empty buildings that you see in your community, all those big box stores that are now leaving huge vacant lots in Black communities, and communities in general all around the country. We're going to talk about that and see how it ties into everything else here, Georgia.
All right. Well, that's all for On the Clock, but stick around for more on The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Baby, you set my soul on fire every morning and every
Brother David, run us back. And I want to come back with a couple of clips from Right Wing Watch. But do me a favor, let's run one more song. We're going to take a real quick break. I'm going to take care of something that's happening on my end here. And when we come back, we're going to come back and discuss Pastor Greg Locke and all the things that are happening, not only with Right Wing Watch and their work, but we're also going to take a look at what's happening with these big box stores that are popping up, or rather the empty vacant lots that are popping up all around the country. We'll be back right after this.
I'm in sync with the earth. 10 toes deep, flower child from the turf. I never switch sides, like even when I die, I'ma ride for the squad, light up tires in the hearse. I've been on a vibe, kinda hard to describe. I'm in between, I'm good and it's fine, but I'm tired of the grind. Then I come alive in the night to realize I'm in the middle of the time of my life. I never so packed for the stack, never lied on the rap. Got a bag from the way that I write it. Queen looking Tyson, threw that ass survive, doing 80 to the house. Then I hit it to the sky change. Haters on a tirade, talking to they grip in the face. Be still, let that hate stuff fade. We all want the same, we all want a meal in the safe. I wanna live like I'm trying to reach enlightenment. Trail spill from my lips, feel bent from the bip. Take a sip till I pass out. Try and get grit, but it don't make sense. Cause you can lose life on this fast route. Yeah, turn thoughts to a cash cow. I might flip that to the glass house. I don't need the accolades, I'm in love with the chase. I just wanna eat, save a spot at the table. Beast with the slap, pin myself on the map. You long with the wind, but we knowing that it's capped. 5-hour flights, couple nights at the
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Welcome back, everybody. We want to jump right in with the time that we have before our first guest this morning. I want you to take a look at this clip. It is a clip from Right Wing Watch. They are a fabulous organization. We spoke to the director of it, and they keep an eye on what's going on in Christian evangelical circles, because it is part and parcel. It is a part of what we see manifesting on the national stage in the form of the anti-vax movement, in the form of the big lie and the insistence that Donald Trump is still the actual president of the United States. The reason that is so strong is precisely because it is being taught in churches across the country. They managed to not only connect Afghanistan to the absurdity, but they're now turning around and creating the scenario where their congregants are the sheep to the slaughter. Take a look at this first clip.
But I think that Trump clearly understood that Biden and the people who are controlling him are fools, number one. Mm-hmm. So you have foolish people who are going to do stupid things. And I think Trump planned on them doing a lot of stupid things. Trump set up the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I think that he planned on Biden botching that somehow. However he was going to botch it. I think Trump knew that Biden would make the wrong moves. I think the opportune time for the military to end this charade would be after Biden has been removed by the 25th Amendment. Because then if the military stepped in and intervened, if they made the big reveal about devolution, they would not be removing Biden from office. It would not be a military coup, because Biden would have been removed from office by Kamala Harris. And if they step in after Biden is gone, but before Kamala is inaugurated, there is no commander in chief. You have an acting president, but she hasn't yet been sworn in, right? So if Kamala hasn't been sworn in, you don't really have a commander-in-chief. It isn't a military coup. I think that would be the opportune time. I suspect that that's probably when the reveal is going to happen, that military will step in, announce what's going on, potentially declare martial law in D.C., make a bunch of arrests, and then whatever happens with Trump returning to the Oval Office, whether it's a new election, whether they just inaugurate him, I don't really know.
Now, that was the voice of QAnon conspiracy theorist Dave Hayes. And you heard him there claiming that Trump actually set up the withdrawal from Afghanistan with the intention of setting up Joe Biden so that Joe Biden can fail. The absurdity of it all, but this is what is being taught on the online churches of the conspiracy theorist, conservative, right-wing reactionary movement. I don't know that I need to actually unpack the ridiculousness of it as much as to warn everyone who's watching and listening that this is what they are being indoctrinated with on a daily basis. And then on the weekends, they attend churches like the church of Pastor Greg Locke out of Tennessee. Take a listen to this clip as he discusses Paul Revere and somehow ties it all together with his deeply believed and deeply held conspiracy theory. Take a listen in.
One of my favorite heroes in the chronicles of American history is a man by the name of Paul Revere. He's a revered statesman, and they thought he was crazy. A lot of people don't understand. The history books won't tell you that when Paul Revere first mounted that horse to rescue the nation and rescue his town that night, he was actually going to his pastor's house to get a word of wisdom because he didn't know what to do in a certain decision. But he found out the redcoats were coming. He told everybody, light those candles, light those lanterns, light your torches, get the women and children out. And he got on that horse, and he began to go through town. I'm sure they called him a conspiracy theorist, probably called him a super spreader, called him a troublemaker, called him all manner of evil. You can imagine what their form of media said. But he went through town as fast as he could, passionately. The redcoats are coming, the redcoats are coming, the redcoats are coming. And he successfully saved the nation because of it. But I'm going to make a promise to you tonight, and then we're going to sing a little bit. Here's the promise. Like Paul Revere of old, tonight I'm going to mount the old steed of freedom. And I'm going to tell everybody, a city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Let your light so therefore shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. And if it's the last ride I take, if it's the last sermon I preach, I'm going to let the world know Jesus is coming, Jesus is coming, Jesus is coming, Jesus is coming, Jesus is coming. Give him praise, church, give him praise.
This represents the evolution of Greg Locke, who has only in this clip one reference to the world of conspiracy from which he hails. He said super spreader. This is his nod and his tip of his hat to that faction of the right-wing reactionary movement that promoted him to the international stage, or rather the national stage. And so now this represents him trying to move out of the backwoods country Bama type of preaching onto the big stage. And so he has to minimize. He has had to minimize the amount of conspiracy theories that he espouses in his sermons, because now it gets him on a larger stage. This is not his church. This is not his pulpit. This is him moving up the ranks of the evangelical movement to bigger pulpits, because what he preaches on Sunday aligns beautifully with the religion of conservative white evangelicalism. But Greg, we know who you are. You're a Bama who is making his hay off of conspiracy theories. And now you're trying to whitewash it in the name of Jesus. But we see you. Let's do this. We're going to take a really quick break. DJ Exclusive is here. When we come back, we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk to our first guest, and we're going to discuss very briefly, or rather, we're going to discuss in depth what's going on in our communities. Everywhere I drive in my city and any city I've ever visited, there are so many vacant lots. And I'm wondering about all the promises these big corporations made to all of these cities. And now those corporations are gone and the cities have been stuck with the hot potato. DJ Exclusive, take it away.
David Wood bring me in as I'm drinking the damn coffee. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Y'all welcome. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Hope everyone is doing well. Happy Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. Good morning, everybody.
I love this city of mine. It never gets me down. Yeah.
I was born in the city, I was raised on its edges. My pop worked his life on his complex. I found love in its center. If I could live here forever, think it'd be for the better. I love the weather, even though it's fog 24/7. I love the people. This is city I met all my best friends, and I wanna thank every break.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. Savage sweetheart, I see you, sister. Good morning, y'all. Tiger, what's going on, brother?
I fell in love for the first time in Golden Gate Park. I saw my first rap show at Great American Hall. I used to beg my homies for
Stitchy and Stilettos, what's going on, sister? I miss you. I feel like I ain't seen you in a month of Sundays. Good to see you.
and me and Jack would get stony, walk around and get lost.
Yeah, Hustler, good morning, y'all. Good morning. Brother Latif, what's going on? Yeah, man, y'all please make sure y'all stay dry out there, okay? One Source, good morning. Brandy Rubble, good morning to you. Six Dragon Daddy, what's going on? Roller Dragon, what's going on? Susan, good morning. Brother Chuck Diesel, what's going on, brother? On and on, good morning. Right Church Rome Pew, good morning to you. Good morning, mother and dad. Mother and father. Good morning, mama and daddy. Love y'all. Tyler Hackney, thank you for your super chat. Morning, Bubba. Good morning, brother Tyler.
I book a flight to try to figure where my mind's at. A spot where I don't spend.
Miss Sophia, good morning. The Pioneer, good morning. Quarter water, good morning to you. Miss Truth the Dragon, good morning.
She said you're funny. I said no, I'm
DP, good morning. Environmental Cop House, good morning to you. Deb, Miss Pedal Benson, good morning. FBF8L Flaw Dragon, good morning. Nat A, good morning. Anna, good morning, Anna. Evergreen, good morning. Love y'all, meaning good morning, y'all.
Hustle and bustle, I fell in love with the fashion. I feel the pulse of the city is moving me like a passion.
On it goes. Good morning. Diesel, good morning to y'all. Captain Jackers, I appreciate it. Good morning to you. Goku, that's right. Good morning, brother. Coffee house music. I like that. I think we'll turn that, okay? Nicholas Rodriguez, good morning. Lisa Noel, good morning to y'all. All right, y'all, it's time for some more show. Welcome back to the screen, my brother from another mother. Benjamin Dixon, y'all. Good morning, brother.
DJ Exclusive, how you doing this morning, brother?
I'm good, man. How you doing? I had a late start though. Oh my God.
Hey man, listen, we all are. Listen, it's taken me every bit of 6 months to adjust to a morning show versus the evening show. So trust me when I tell you.
Right.
I understand. Matter of fact, go enjoy that coffee, brother. We're going to jump into this interview. I'm excited to bring to the conversation Stacy Mitchell, co-director at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance and author of the book Big Box Swindle. Stacy, thank you so much for joining us. How are you this morning? Okay, we don't have audio. Just let's see if we can get her audio. There.
Sorry about that.
Awesome. Thank you. How are you this morning?
It's nice to be with you.
Pleasure. I had occasion to stumble on your Twitter thread where you like so succinctly in a couple of tweets summarize what I've been noticing in so many cities. Everywhere I travel, here in the city of Atlanta, there are just so many vacant lots. And I see also on the other side, I see Amazon warehouses popping up everywhere. And I'm wondering if in the next 20 years, these cities that are taking in all the new corporations are going to be saddled with the same empty vacant lot scenario that you spoke about on Twitter. Could you tell us about your work and kind of address it from the frame of that question?
That's right. I mean, so many communities have been taken in by the promises of these big corporations, whether it's big box retailers like Walmart or more recently Amazon. You know, we're going to bring you lots of jobs. We're going to bring you lots of tax revenue. And, you know, years later, after, you know, the growth of all these big box stores, what we see is lots of communities have just been hollowed out. They've lost their local businesses. those big box stores haven't delivered on the promises, even if they're still operating. Some of them have gone vacant. They haven't delivered the jobs that they promised, and they really haven't delivered the tax revenue. It turns out there's a whole hidden cost associated with these stores. And now many of those companies are demanding tax breaks and lower property valuations on their stores. And so it's really it's been a bit of a swindle that communities have gone down this route. And so part of my tweet thread was really to say, we should be looking at this more holistically, and especially as we've got Amazon building warehouses, we should learn some lessons from the past.
Yeah, I'm looking at I'm thinking of the city of South Fulton, which I had an occasion to meet a candidate for commissioner in that city. And we spoke specifically about this, right? We spoke about the promises that are made by corporations in the form of we're going to bring jobs. And so our local city council, or whatever city council you're a part of or you're in, they hear these corporations say, we're going to bring jobs. And then the mayor gets a chance to do a big presentation and say, we brought Amazon to our city, or in this case, or your specific case is, Lowe's in this photo that we're looking at. We brought Lowe's to our city, but now Lowe's is an empty, vacant lot that is a liability to the city. And please tell us more about that swindle where the tax revenues that they thought we were going to get never really came.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of these big stores opened over community opposition. You had local people saying, we want to keep our local businesses. We want to have a healthy neighborhood business district. And yet city officials were just drawn in by that tax argument. And so they okayed like a lot of this development. Some is okay, but they okayed a lot of it. And what we're seeing now is all of these companies are going around state after state, and what they're doing is systematically contesting their property valuations. They're saying our buildings are worth half, a third as much as you're saying they're worth, and we want to get a big cut in our property tax bill. They're doing it under something that's called the dark store theory, which is it's as nefarious as it sounds. They're essentially saying to cities, you should value our building as though it's empty, as though it's not a going concern with a bunch of sales and revenue going on in the building, but instead you should treat it as though it's like a decrepit, vacant building, and that should be the value. And they're getting away with it in a lot of states, though there is now some pushback and there's some legislation that maybe could stop them. But the end result for cities is that they have often seen local businesses disappear, which has gotten rid of property tax revenue that was coming in from those businesses. They've seen higher costs for services for these stores. These stores generate a lot of police calls, a lot of road maintenance. And then now those stores themselves are slashing their property tax payments. So that the end result is that these businesses are really hurting cities financially in a significant way.
And you're telling me, I want to make sure I heard correctly. You said that there's an argument that's being made by these corporations that we should value their decrepit, broken down blight on our cities that are the empty parking lots of their big boxes.
Yeah, they're actually saying that those stores that are in operation, stores that are doing tens of millions of dollars of business every year, should be valued as though they're vacant. And the argument that they're making is that these are single purpose buildings that if Walmart leaves the building, it's got no other use, and therefore it has no value, which is of course exactly the opposite of what they told cities 10 years ago when they wanted to build. They were like, oh, this is going to be the greatest thing, and we're going to add all this tax base. And so and now they're saying we're worthless. And in fact, we've got empty buildings all over the country, so you can see that we're really worthless and that nobody wants to occupy these buildings.
So it's even worse than I thought.
They're trying to prove the point. It's a scandal. There are towns that are doing this in Michigan. They've started doing it here in Maine. They've done it all over the Midwest, and they have gotten big tax cuts. And in some cases, there's usually a state tax board that this goes through. The state tax board has actually made the local city or town write the company a check for back taxes, like basically taxes they had paid in previous years. Now you've got a struggling city government, and then they're having to cut services, libraries, schools, everything else is having to pay the price so that Walmart can walk out with a big check for taxes that it paid in previous years.
In addition to the public subsidizing of these corporations in the form of food stamps, any type of assistance, because these corporations aren't necessarily paying their workers a living wage. So not only are we getting stuck with the bag or with the hot potato, seems to be my
Yeah.
phrase for today, as cities, because they're skipping town, proving a point that we have to keep them. It is so convoluted and nefarious. I want to just hold the pin there and ask you about some cities, some states that got it right. You said Vermont is a state that got it right. Tell us about.
Yeah, Vermont has a law. It's called Act 250, and it's a statewide law. It's a land use law, and it essentially says if you want to build something large, whether it's a big commercial development, big housing development, then there has to be an analysis about whether the costs of that, whether the benefits of it are going to outweigh the costs. Like they really do the math. Like, how is this going to play out over time? And what is it going to generate in terms of jobs, revenue, good economic activity? And then what are going to be the costs? Are we going to lose, businesses in other parts of the community? Or are they going to go out? Are we going to lose tax revenue? How much is this going to cost in services? I mean, they do a full scale analysis, and they do it at the regional level. So it's not just about the host community, but all of the surrounding communities also participate in that. And it's about the impact that it might have on them as well. And because of that, what you've seen in Vermont, and there are a few other places that have similar policies, people get the full picture. Like in the case of big box retail, back in the 90s, 2000, when those retailers were building lots of stores, Vermont was actually doing the analysis and in many cases coming back and saying, you know what, this is actually going to cost more. And this isn't going to deliver the promises that these companies are making. And when people saw that information clearly, what they then did was say no to those stores. So today, Vermont has far fewer big box stores. It's an option. There are 5 Walmarts in the state, and it's an available option for people, but it's not the level of saturation that you see everywhere else. And in turn, Vermont has more small businesses per capita than any other state. So they've really avoided the big box swindle and had a more diverse and productive local economy as a result.
Could you talk about our level of complicity as individuals with our level of consumerism and our incessant need to buy widgets? How are we complicit with this type of blight?
Yeah, it's on the one hand, I think that it is really worth thinking about like where your dollars go. And, even that exercise is a great way to like learn about, sort of how our economy works or doesn't work, right? Is to just pay attention. And there are in many places, there are great local businesses that give back, that are good employers, that need your dollars. And I would just encourage people to sort of seek out those businesses and support them because they really do need you. On the other hand, I would also say that I think we need to see this as a product of public policy, that we have implemented policies at the local, state, and federal level that have favored and encouraged the consolidation of economic power by these big companies, whether it's Amazon or Walmart. We've said, you don't have to pay federal taxes. We've created all sorts of loopholes that only work for big business. We've created land use policies that favor this kind of development. I mean, the list goes on of ways in which we have actively encouraged their growth and undermined more community-based alternatives through public policy. And ultimately, it's public policy that's going to change this. And so on the one hand, I want people to be mindful of where they're shopping and spending, and that's important. But I also really feel like it's our citizen muscle that's the most powerful muscle. And we need to like learn how to use that and learn how to use policy to structure the economy in ways that actually work for people.
Absolutely. One final question for you with the time that we have left. In your book or in your research, have you found a larger concentration of empty big box stores in any particular subgroup? And I guess I could point, I don't see a lot of empty stores in wealthy neighborhoods, and I see a lot of empty stores in Black neighborhoods.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, what you see with these big chains, and it's not just the sort of big boxes like Walmart, but it's also the pharmacy chains, CVS and Walgreens, all of these chain companies is, during flush times, they will expand and they will push the envelope. But then when they decide to close stores, where is it that they close? It's always communities of color, low-income communities that they pull out of. they have very little commitment to communities in general, but particularly to communities of color. And there is a just sort of willingness to mistreat people that you see in terms of their development patterns. And it just really comes back, I think, again to, well, how is it that we build businesses and institutions that are really rooted in community and owned by people in the community, and therefore have a vested interest in the long-term interests of the community? And for too long we've been on this like bigger is better kind of approach. And the reason my organization, the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, exists is to sort of question that and say, what would it look like if we did economic development in a different way that was really about something that's more community-based and community-rooted.
And it sounds like Vermont might have a model. It sounds like businesses shouldn't come from the top down any more than government should come from the top down, but should come from the bottom up, from a local level up. Stacy, thank you so much for joining us and all the work that you're doing. The title of the book is Big Box Swindle. Stacy Mitchell, co-director at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
When we come back, like it or not, but first, DJ exclusive.
Y'all, what made the tomato blush? It's all the salad dressing?
I can't deal with you, DJ. I'm going to take my own break.
It's all the salad dressing. I don't know where these people come up with this stuff at.
Why don't you tell me now?
Oh, good morning again, y'all. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, all right? Environmental Coffee House, Right Church, Wrong Pew. Nick, good morning, y'all. Goku, thank you for the tomatoes, brother. I appreciate it. Other Bulls with infinite content, good morning. Y'all can't take me and my dad jokes. It's okay. I can't take me and my dad jokes either. Oh my gosh. My God today. All right, y'all. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. But while we get this break ready, get everything situated and turned over, let's go ahead and get our Twitch and YouTube and all those other people new subscribers read off real quick, all right? Let me see here. Let me get the music lowered here. All right, y'all. All right. New Patreon, new patrons, and new Twitch subscribers today. Nicole L. Shout out Nicole. Sean F. Carrie M. Mary C. Duval H. Like Lil Duval? No? Okay. Duval H. DJ. Like DJ Exclusive? No. DJ. Shout out to DJ, man. Our new Twitch subscribers. We have Chrysanthemum. I don't know if I can read that one. We have Chrysanthemum and we have Bout to Bus. Subscribe with Prom. Silhouette Alphabet. We have a 420 Kitty Dragon. Resubscribe. These names. Brick Throwing Commie. 312. The Chicken Fried Dragon resubscribe. We have Murderino Dragon. Donut Space resubscribed. We have the Chicken Fried Dragon who gifted a subscription to Danielle Labiqua, and Sammy Lynn the Con Dragon gifted a subscription to Why So Dankness. JNLE also 1981 also gifted a subscription to Marcus for Left Flank Vets as well too, man. Thank y'all so much for the resubscribes, man, and new patron members. We greatly appreciate y'all. Love y'all to death, man. Y'all the best. Also, Other Bullsmith says we need to invest and reinvest in manufacturing in this country and stop all of this globalization. China is quickly surpassing us. Amen to that. Brenda Johnson says, I worked with a citizens group years ago to keep Walmart out of our community and was successful. This is one of the many reasons why. Thank you for that, Brenda Johnson. Thank you again, Other Bullshit, man. If you have a super chat that you're going to drop, read it off on the air as well, too. We greatly appreciate you. Tyler Hackner said, Bubba, you and your Jad jokes are never ending. Never ending, because if I run out of the 150 that I got there are probably about 500 more I can find on the internet. So we gonna have dad jokes for days. Love y'all, mean it, okay? Just don't throw tomatoes at me in real life when y'all see me, all right? I greatly appreciate it. Make sure that y'all stay tuned, man. Like it or not, it's starting up soon. I forgot that our sister from another mister won't be with us today. Prayers up for Rebecca. Has got an important doctor's appointment today, so prayers up for Sister Rebecca. Make sure everything goes good, all right, y'all? Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. We got some more coming up, all right? Keep it locked right here, the Benjamin Dixon Show.
What it took to making you like a blossom of a tree or the color of a jewel.
Mark S., I think I might change that to my name. Mark S. said, we need a marinated neck bone sandwich dragon. Tiger, what's your joke? Tiger, what's going on? What you got?
Darling, you are all I want for sure. Darling, you give me everything.
Mara Sharice, good morning, Mara. KFZ, good morning.
Yeah, girl, you know I miss you.
KFZ, you're annoying as hell, bro. Good morning, brother KFZ. Good morning to you. Blue Daddy, good morning.
Slide talking, girl, you're walking circles through my mind.
All right, y'all. This is from Tiger. Tiger says, did you know you can't run in a camping ground? You can only run. It's past tense. Get it? Past tense. TENTS.
And I said, darling.
Now y'all blame Tiger for that one, y'all.
I said, darling.
Tiger, that was a good one. That was a good one. That was a good one. I appreciate that one. Oh my gosh. And y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Actually, all right, I think I'm gonna have a quick second. Y'all, yesterday, we played the new song by Barca. I think that's the name, right, David, if I'm not mistaken. And it sounded really good. So I had somebody reach out to me yesterday and asked to play a song that they requested. They're independent artists here in Atlanta, and I listened to it, and when I tell you that the song is pretty much a pop, so I said I'll make sure I play it on the air. Independent artist, man, so make sure that y'all go support. His name is Jay Nolan. We'll play the song, and I'll let you know where you can get the song from and go follow and listen along. All right, here we go. His song is called Splash.
Going bad on them. I be running up a check and do the dash on them. They was sleeping on the kid, then I passed all them. I was waiting in the water, now I splash on them. Like, cannonball, splash. Hit the frog, splash. White wall, splash. Jaggy jump, splash. Fuck up the drama, just me and my partners be grinding to fill up the bag. Add up the comments, she look at the diamonds, lil' mama gon' rock with the splash. Mission to fill in the blanks, permission to fill up the bank. Gassing on nipples, I guess I should fill up the tank. The champion and tip through the ranks. Driving hits like Golden Glove. Bang head with the shoulder shrug. Mayweather, boy, I'm undefeated on my competition. I just pull the plug. Light a candle for the ops. Got me pulling all the stops. Niggas see me in they dread. Made me think of going locks. I be creeping through your block. See all the hoes on your strategy. I break it down like some cross. Your 10 like some jack in the box. Got your chick in my spot. She want apples to rock. I'm a bad boy. I just crash for it. I don't pay attention to the dashboard. I be in the pain, then I crash boys. Y'all just act hard. Get your sad card. I'm a Jaguar. Inspiration for the generation like the Black Panther. On my job, I just spread my gift. Do it every year. I'm Secret Santa. Sweet home, no Alabama. On the floor like David Banner. Pinky ring on Super Bowl. See me high stepping like Deion Sanders. Rude boy, better mind your manners. I've been watching y'all about to change the channel. Got a chick waiting on speed dial. And she got the drop like Louisiana. Like, oh. Going bad on them. I be running up a check and do the dash on them. They was sleeping on the kid, then I passed all them. I was waiting in the water, now I splash on them. Like, cannonball, splash. Hit the frog, splash. White wall, splash. Jaggy jump, splash. Broke up the drama, just me and my partners, we grinding to fill up the bag. Add up the comments, she look at the diamonds, the mama gon' rock with the splash. So many people that didn't believe. I set the goal up and then achieve. Family your business like Genevieve's, about to set up a show out in Tel Aviv. Shout out your west, you can't mirror me. Got my cash in the safe like the
All right, y'all. That is Jay Nolan. Artist is Jay Nolan. Y'all can follow him on Instagram, Real Jay Nolan. Website, Real Jay Nolan. And on YouTube, Jay Nolan. Y'all make sure y'all check the brother out, man. He is from the city of Atlanta. And he sent me another song as well, too, that I got to make sure that I get played. But when I tell you, yeah, he sent this to me. I'm like, yeah, that's good, man.
That's a vibe, man.
It is. It's straight from Atlanta. I was like, I appreciate that. So if y'all do go to his website, if y'all Instagram, tell me that DJ Exclusive sent you, okay?
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, James, we've been talking about this for a minute, man. When we first started putting the morning show together and started planning and designing it, we were like, man, there's so many talented independent artists out here. And truth be told, both of us obviously come from the music background.
Right.
So it's really dope to hear that cut and to see that. Bring more of that. Long story short, let's do more of that. I like that.
Real quick, man, you want to hear a joke about construction?
I don't think I have a choice, do I?
No, I'm still working on it.
David, I don't know what clip you have. But you know what? Yes, we do need to do this properly, even though our sister from another mister is not here. James, bring us in properly.
Okay, you want to do are we rolling?
We're going to run the intro.
Okay, run it, David. Okay.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth
and not care who doesn't like it. What do you call a fake noodle?
I don't know, James.
An imposter. David. He didn't get it, David. He didn't get it. Good morning, Ben. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I love the fact that we can go from imperialism and colonialism to just straight tomfoolery, man.
Tomfoolery. Hey,
of dad jokes.
You got to be able to do it. You got to be able to switch them lanes real easy.
Hey, this is what they asked on all those applications. They said you had to be able to perform well under pressure. And what is the second one where you're supposed to handle multiple tasks at one time and switch between high tasks, all that stuff. They want us to be high performing. Well,
right.
There's nothing more high performing than going from Afghanistan to dad jokes within a span of an hour and a half.
Basically. Yep. They'll loosen you up a little bit because they're so terrible. You ain't got no choice but to laugh and be like, what the hell was that?
And see, James, if you're not here on the screen, my mind naturally goes to the situation in the world being so terrible that we have no choice but to laugh. So we have a nice dichotomy on the screen here.
Right, exactly.
That said, behind the scenes is a part of this dialectic that we're doing, and that is David. He is here in the stead of our homeboy Dwayne over there at Done Right Media, who helps us look as amazing as we do. Shout out to everyone who makes this possible, and shout out to our sister from another Mr. Rebecca Azor, who is not here this morning because, well, she's taking time for herself because she has put in a lot of work doing her part for Haiti. And I just have to pause and reflect on the fact that the pictures and the videos that she has shared with us that we are compiling so that you can see what your dollars did. I mean, the money that you donated absolutely went straight to Haiti because we have video and footage of and photos of Rebecca's brother actually dropping off what you, the supporter, helped us purchase through Rebecca. So thank you, audience. And James, you got to see the pictures too.
Yeah, absolutely. When I tell you, amazing to see. So shout out to Rebecca and her brother, man, just doing the damn thing. Greatly appreciated seeing it. It was awesome. Real awesome.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. And shout out to the people of Haiti who have endured and overcome tragedy after tragedy. But you guys are, all of you, you are resilient people. And as evidenced by the fact that we have the Haitian princess on this show, Rebecca Zor, who's taking the morning off. That said, it's just you and me, James. You think we can handle it? Can we?
I think we'll be okay.
I think we Wildcats can handle it without a rattler on the screen with us. I don't think
absolutely.
I think we. So David, I know I can look at the sheet of paper and I can find out exactly what we're getting ready to watch. But I'd like the audience to experience it the same way we experience it, because a lot of times we don't have any idea what David is about to play.
Right.
So play that funky clip for me, white man.
Did this press conference a couple of weeks ago saying that white supremacy was the biggest threat to our nation. Okay? Turn on any TV channel. I don't see white supremacists taking over Afghanistan.
No.
Do you?
No. I've never met a white supremacist in 52 years of living here, and I've met everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I've met the head of the Nation of Islam. I've met every wacko in the world, flat Earth people. I've never met anyone who said, you know, I'm just a white supremacist.
Yeah, this
I'm sure they exist. Every variety of weirdo exists. I've never met one of them.
I call it their golden unicorn. Okay, because it's the invisible monster that they can blame everything on.
Yes.
And then point to every white person out there and say, oh, you're a white supremacist.
So did he change his set? Because that set is giving very much white supremacy.
I'm sorry to the listening audience who can't see, but he's talking about Tucker Carlson. The second voice you heard in the clip was that of Tucker Carlson, and he is on his secondary set. Tucker Carlson is white supremacy is so successful in this country that the lead propagandist for white supremacy, Tucker Carlson, is able to have two shows, not one, both on Fox's networks. One that looks and gives the appearance of, Fox News and the flashing lights and the glamorous looks of Manhattan, where their studios are. And this second show, James, to your point, is the log cabin kind of look, where he's trying to make it seem like he's really connected to the common man. And there he's talking to, this is the same guy. We had another clip from him in the first on the first segment. Let me scroll up. That was PA congressional candidate Teddy Daniels, the same guy who put air quotes around pandemic in discussion of the vaccine and the mask mandates. So there's a lot going on in this clip. The biggest and the most glaring elephant in the room is that, of course, two white supremacists could not see themselves. Come on, man. It's not rocket science. I've never seen a white supremacist, because you are one.
Right,
dumbass.
Absolutely. And that makes no sense at all. You've never seen a white supremacist on TV? Oh, yeah, you have. You saw one for the last 4 years, 4 years ago. So what the hell you talking about? Because I know I saw one. I saw a few, Karens. Cop
Come on,
killers.
man.
I mean,
Come
not
on.
cop killers, but
Killer cops.
Killer cops. Thank you. Reverse that. Killer cops. I don't know what they talking about. So yeah. And then somebody said that this bald-headed guy looks like a bleached Shrek. Facts. Big facts. And Tucker, 52 years old?
Oh, man. Look what white supremacy would do to your skin.
Jesus.
Moisturize yourself in some liberation, brother. Run the next clip, David. Let's just keep us on our toes. What you got next?
Newsom is a terrible governor. Not saying he's a terrible person, maybe a great person. But look at the state he leads. It's gotten demonstrably, visibly worse by every measure during the years he has led it. You'd think even leaders of the Democratic Party, his party, would be very happy that he could be leaving, but they're not. They're doing everything they can to keep him in office. They're going so far as to endorse the job he's doing, if you can imagine. They're not blind. They see what he's done. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are now set to campaign against the recall. No more democracy for you. You got to wonder, will the state survive this? Will there be a free and fair election? Harmeet Dillon is the co-chair of the Republican National Lawyers Association. California does not get the credit it deserves for the corruption that's endemic there. It's a one-party state, and they act like it.
Of course I'm concerned, Tucker. I'm involved in election integrity efforts throughout the United States, and I'm also a member of the Republican National Committee. We are monitoring things. Just a couple of hours ago, I filed a lawsuit to intervene in a challenge to the constitutionality of the recall statute, because frankly, I don't trust the Secretary of State or the Attorney General. We are going to be jumping on every potential opportunity to do that and fight back against the Democrats. Of course, they are playing fast and loose. We've seen some very alarming scenes of 300 ballots bundled together in the car of a person with a gun and some drugs.
Ballots have already been found in trash cans.
Really?
Photographs have been taken of them. I've got people who have taken videos and said, look what I'm finding here. One pastor I know was driving down the street, saw some documents on the side of the highway that he thought looked somewhat important. He grabbed them. They were opened. He recognized them immediately. They were ballots regarding this special recall election. Every one of those ballots said yes, Newsom should be removed. And the second question on the ballot was, who do you want to replace him with? And these were Larry Elder voters. It's already started. That's why we documented it, because, of course, when you say these things, everybody says, no, that's not true.
Okay, we got a lot going on in that clip, and it is discussing the recall election efforts that are happening in California, but it also intersects very nicely with the broader conversation about the extent to which Republicans and conservatives will go to snatch democracy from the hands of Black people particularly. Joining us now is friend of the show and co-founder of Black Voters Matter, one of the baddest brothers in the fight against this onslaught of white supremacy against democracy. Cliff Albright, how are you this morning, brother?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. I was glad to see you.
It is good to see you, man. And we've talked about this on occasion, man. Like, I really would like for you to help contextualize what we see going on in California into the broader into the broader conversation. It's that kind of morning. Into the broader conversation about voting rights and the attacks of the conservatives on voting rights across the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just more of the same, like you were saying. I mean, here you got in that clip, you hear them talking already about, so-called ballots being thrown away and all this evidence of rampant fraud. Like, where have we heard this before, right? Like, these are the same things that Trump said before his election, because he knew he was going to lose and because he was trying to set up the big lie. These are the same things that they're doing now in California to cover up the fact they are going to lose this attempt. And no matter what, again, it just reaffirms and strengthens the big lie, because no matter what happens with the actual election, what we know is that they're going to try to use these false claims, these false stories about ballots being thrown out, the same way they're going to use the false stories about the Arizona frauded and checking for bamboo traces within the ballots and all of that stuff. I mean, no matter what, they're going to use the hysteria that they create around the big lie to then be a further rationalization for all of the voter suppression that they're doing all across the country.
I got a pretty hefty task for us this morning. I want us to juxtapose, if you would, voter suppression with COVID-19 and the anti-mask, anti-vax reactionary movement that is also running parallel to the efforts to undermine our right to vote. Help us to draw up any parallels that you see between that duality inside of the conservative movement, which is the conspiracy theory that is pushing people to die. Conservative radio hosts, they're believing their lies so much that they are dying from COVID-19, but it's almost like the same lies that they're believing about voting.
Yeah, I mean, like you're right. The Venn diagram of the people that believe in the big lie and the people that are taking ivermectin, and talking about vaccination conspiracies, that Venn diagram is a perfect circle. And I'll give you another circle to throw on top of it, because this is something I didn't even know of until I saw some stuff that you and David had tweeted out. So now they got a conspiracy about the doggone hurricane. That the hurricane is a conspiracy and it's just made up. And you got people attacking newscasters who are out reporting on it, talking about, oh, you better be reporting it right. Stop making up stuff. We're making up a hurricane now? Is that like that's and wow. So that circle of the people that believe that fits right on top of those other two circles in terms of COVID and the election fraud. It's crazy. Like what is going on? People are taking horse D-word. Like what is going on here? But this just shows the lengths that you go when you gotta believe in a notion like white supremacy. It'll cause you to believe in just about any conspiracy theory, anything that'll reinforce your belief system, no matter how crazy and unrighteous that belief system is. It'll even to the point of it costing your life. That's how deep this white supremacy is, and it's deeply rooted in the fabric of this country. You're talking about something when white folks had nothing else in this country, when poor white folks had nothing else in this country, they had the notion of at least I ain't them other folk. And that belief, when you cling to it, then it'll force you to hold on to it in spite of all reality. It'll force you to believe in notions of white supremacy and inferior white intellect, even when everything we see betrays that notion, right? And so
this supremacy ain't so supreme, brother. This white supremacy ain't so supreme. If you look at the sum total of their equation, the apex, the apotheosis of white supremacy is they're crapping themselves with dewormer.
Right.
I like our odds, brother. I like our odds.
That's right.
David, we want to run this clip. Cliff, you sent over a clip that you want us to take a look at. I also want people to see that clip that you're talking about from MSNBC. It was two black men. One was in the anchor seat. One was out reporting on the hurricane, and some madman, white man, drove up and got into his face, and he should be grateful that he did not get a two-piece snack. That said, let's run the clip of Cliff that you brought, and let's discuss it.
A little bit about this earlier today, and I'm gonna be brief with this, but it's really important. I talked about earlier today, if y'all were out there today, about how on this day when most people are talking about I have a dream, that on this day, and not just this day, but really for weeks, my meditations have been on not what Dr. King said in I Have a Dream, but what he wrote months earlier when he was sitting in a Birmingham jail. Yes. And when he wrote that letter from Birmingham jail, what he did was he did an entire dissertation on the essence and the necessity of nonviolent civil disobedience. And he talked about a lot of things in his letter, and I know many of y'all out here have read it and studied it, but he talked about a lot of things. He talked about this issue of the white moderates. We know a few white moderates nowadays that are getting in the way, right? But he talked about his disappointment in the white moderates. He talked about his disappointment in the clergy, and not just the white clergy, but black clergy as well. But he talked about a lot of things in this letter. He talked about this issue of being an extremist and how people accused him of being an extremist. And his response to them was, that's okay. At first I was offended, but then I reflected and I said, you know what? It's okay to be extreme, because at the end of the day, it wasn't Jesus an extremist for love. Right?
Come on, somebody.
So I'm okay with being an extremist if I can be an extremist in the spirit of moving justice and righteousness forward versus being an extremist in the interest of trying to perpetuate injustice. It's not that bad to be extreme. In fact, you've got to be extreme, especially if you're going to do what? If you're going to make some good trouble. Right. You've got to be a little extreme if you're going to make some good trouble. Ain't no way to really make good trouble if you're not willing to be extreme. Right? John Lewis was being extreme when he got on a bus traveling across the South to challenge the laws. You got to be a little extreme to make good trouble. You got to be a little extreme.
Now, brother, you better preach. Now, not to take the attention away from the very substance of what you're saying, because it is rich. But brother, you better preach. Hello, somebody. Now, that said, man, I grappled with Dr. King. My father, in his office, when I was a little boy, he had a book of sermons and writings of Dr. King. And man, I was grappling with, wow. That threw me off. That was Cliff's voice, but it was in the video. Coming back to the point of the dialectic that Dr. King espoused in that letter, please talk about this clip, the necessity of what white supremacy would always call anything that we do extreme, but yet we have to do whatever is necessary to make good trouble. Brother Cliff, help us understand what you were feeling in this moment. Mm-hmm.
No,
you're. Oh, there you go.
There we go. We got you now.
Okay. It's interesting when you talk about your studies of King and being introduced by your father, because when I first moved down to Selma, I moved to Selma in '98. I wouldn't
I was
consider
born in
myself
Selma.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
born
yeah,
in Selma. Yeah, man.
Wow.
I'm old enough to still have Negro on my birth certificate.
Man, no, you ain't,
you,
man.
Selma.
Get out of here.
I swear, on God. Ask my mama. But go ahead, Cliff. You was yours.
Mine says black. Mine says black, and I was born like 40 minutes away from you. Look.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Look at the
2
difference
years
of
before.
Selma. Look at the difference of Selma. But you moved, Cliff, to Selma in '98.
That's right. That's right. And having lived there, I believe you when you say that you've got Negro on your birth certificate.
I do.
But and 40 miles from Selma is a significant difference, because you could be in the city of Montgomery in 40 miles from Selma, and there's a difference there. But
Yes.
anyway, but the point just being that I wasn't really a fan. I wasn't. I was born, in the Malcolm school. And truth be told, still am, right? But I've developed a deep respect for Dr. King the more that I studied his words. Not the words that they would feed us on, his birthday every year and in the McDonald's commercials, where they would just limit it to one speech. But, I started to study the speech when he came out against Vietnam. I started to study his "Where Do We Go From Here" speech in 1967, where he says that, at some point we can't just look at the society and figure out how to better take care of beggars. That's the word he used, was beggars. But we got to question a society that systemically create beggars, right? I started looking at some of his other writings. I started to study the efforts at the Poor People's Campaign. And part of that study was taking a close look at the letter from Birmingham jail, one of the most underrated pieces of writing, I believe, in U.S. history. The way that he spells out the rationale for nonviolent civil disobedience, and he addresses all those issues that I mentioned in there. And so, right now, we're at a moment where we have got to match our actions with the nature of the thing that we are trying to fight against or fight for, right? In other words, when you're fighting against white supremacy, or take a step back, you can't be going after a major opponent in the form of a Goliath, right? And not be willing to use, like Dr. King said, extreme tactics, right? The bigger your opponent is, the more deeply entrenched it is, then the deeper you gotta go. The flip side is also true. If you're just going after a small opponent, you ain't got to go nuclear, right? You gotta match your tactics to the nature of what it is that you're fighting against. Right now, we're fighting against voter suppression, which is as old as America itself. America was founded on voter suppression. Only white men with property, could vote. It was founded on voter suppression. DC, the lack of DC statehood and DC voting rights is as old as the country itself. The filibuster is not a recent creation that's been used against voting rights and civil rights. It's been used against civil rights since 1874 and repeatedly throughout the 1900s to block everything from voting rights to civil rights to anti-lynching legislation. So when you're going up against something that is that deeply rooted in the nature and the fabric of this country and deeply connected to white supremacy, we've got to at least be willing to be as confrontational, as extreme, if you will, as we were in the 50s and 60s with the civil rights movement. It's going to take that level of direct action and civil disobedience. It's going to take being in the streets and locking arms and blocking some doors and blocking some intersections. It's going to take at least that much in order to end this Jim Crow archaic filibuster that is blocking progress for us for so many years. And not just on voting rights, it's blocking progress on all the rest of the agenda that we want to, police violence and climate change and immigration and a living wage. We've got to end this filibuster, but to do so, we've got to be willing to use some tactics beyond the phone calls and the text messages. All that is nice. Social media tweets, all that is good, but we're going to have to hit these streets a lot harder than what we've been hitting. And it's happening. You know, we've had 4 members of the Congressional Black Caucus get arrested with us over the past month and a half. And so you got Cori Bush, who was willing to be extreme in order to make good trade.
That's right.
Sleeping on the steps of the Capitol is a little extreme. And that's what you got to do when you're trying to save 11 million people from being evicted. That's what we're going to have to do during the next weeks as we get into this critical phase of this battle on voting rights and as we push to end the filibuster.
Yeah.
Cliff, how much time you got, man? Because, I get in these conversations and I just be ignoring the clock and people be like, Ben, I got to call. I got to get off the show. How much time you got, brother?
Man, I could sit and talk to y'all all day. I'm a little upset. Rebecca ain't around, but that's all right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Shout out to Rebecca. Nah, man. People be like, we get in these conversations, man, and I honestly I get so lost in the conversations because they're necessary. Because one of the parts of this, man, that I wanted to ask you about before you got out of here, brother, is that plight of survivors of slavery, and properly being able to understand who we. Because when you say Cori Bush, and you talk about her sleeping on the steps of the Capitol, I actually extrapolate a little higher, and I say I see her sleeping on the steps of the Capitol of the greatest empire in the history of the known universe. And so when we consider our the perspective from that, I don't know, not 30,000 foot perspective, but a universal perspective, what people like Sister Cori Bush and Nina Turner and so many Black people who are deeply steeped in the liberation tradition are doing is galactic, man. Like what you're doing and what you're doing traveling this country and what John Lewis did, speaking truth to power, all the way back to our ancestors. I'm thinking about Frederick Douglass. I've been hanging around Brother Mac a little bit, so I got a little bit more history in me than Norman Ford. And every time I think about the history of Black folks in this country, man, what kind of nerve we have had to stare the biggest and greatest empire in the history of the known universe in the face and say, let our people go. Talk about that for me, man.
Man, as you were talking, I was thinking about Sister Maya Angelou, and Still I Rise, right? We should not even still be standing. We should not even be in existence. When you think about everything that we've been through, not just the horrors of the Middle Passage, the Maafa, not just the horrors of slavery, of Jim Crow, of the race riots, back when race riots were actually white folks rioting, right, and killing and murdering and plundering and lynching. We shouldn't still be standing when you think about the ways our neighborhoods have been devastated by everything from urban renewal, which they said back in the day was really Negro removal, and when we look at environmental racism, when we look at the healthcare crisis, when we look at all these issues, when we look at how our communities are more susceptible to these natural disasters, as we sit here on the anniversary a couple of days ago of Katrina, and now we're facing another disaster that's plaguing our communities and our loved ones down in Louisiana and Mississippi. We by what nerve, what manner of people are we? We are even still standing and then having the audacity to continue to shape this country and make it be closer to what it was supposed to be, and having the audacity to exceed in everything from the Olympics and swimming and tennis and sports to business to education to furthering this vaccine itself. How are we even still doing this, right? And so when I look at this battle around voter suppression, and I think about how far we've come, you used the word earlier. No, it wasn't paradox, but you used a word earlier.
Dialectic.
The dialectic, right? When we look at the fact that on the one hand, our previous victories on this issue of voting rights, they give us courage to know that there's nothing that we can't overcome, right? That we will get the right. I'm more convinced more than ever. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema says. I know that we're going to get this voting rights bill. In fact, I made a prediction on somebody's radio show the other day. I said within 30 days, we're going to have the voting rights legislation passed.
Well, we're going to touch and agree on that one, brother. We ain't going to let you out there by yourself. Go ahead.
I believe in that. But the paradox is this: we shouldn't be fighting for something that was supposed to be ours in 1870. But the 15th Amendment, it's highly problematic that amendment wasn't enough. Then we needed a Voting Rights Act of 1965. Then we needed to get that reauthorized every 15, 20, 25 years. And now here we are having a fight for a John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act to restore something that was taken away from that 1965 Act. And we haven't even talked about the fact that that same act was then further weakened just a few months ago with the more recent Supreme Court decision in Brownovich. And so here we are right now, we've got less voting rights than we had back in August and September of 1965.
Wow.
Because at least in August, September of 1965, we had the full Voting Rights Act. And here we are, 2021, we've got less protection than what we had in 1965. That's the paradox that we're dealing with. James. That we're moving forward and we're gaining victories, but at the same time, at some point, we got to question the fundamental nature of our relationship to this democracy. At some point, we got to get into some deeper questions. Lonnie Guinier tried to have a whole discussion on proportional representation, and that discussion got squashed.
When did that get squashed? Help me with that history.
Yeah, that discussion back in '92 when saxophone playing Bill Clinton got elected and was going to nominate was going to nominate. You know, people thought he was black, and then he nominated Lonnie Guinier to be assistant secretary in the Department of Justice, and then he pulled the nomination because people were afraid of Lonnie Guinier's writings on this notion of proportional representation. And we won't go too deep into it right here, but proportional representation challenges the very ways that we even get representation in Congress and in some other bodies. It would do away with the gerrymandering that we're trying to deal with in the For the People Act, but it also it would force us to rethink what Black power and Black representation looks like in this democracy. They didn't want to have that discussion, so he pulled her nomination so that she couldn't. Imagine if she was sitting in Congress being questioned by senators, and there was a real detailed discussion of proportional representation being broadcast on media every day and introducing this entire country to this notion that they don't want us to know about.
God dog it, Cliff, you nailed that thing down to you broke it down to sufficiently where it don't have to be broke no more. Because let me tell you, they do not want the light of any epiphany that there is more and there's better than what America is doing. They don't want that. Proportional representation. You're talking about the reason why we can't get any more than two parties. Diverger's law. We're talking about the very structure and nature of our system when we should have something more analogous to a parliamentarian system. Because can you imagine if Donald Trump had been president at the beginning, or rather if the pandemic had come at the beginning of Donald Trump's presidency, and we're stuck with 4 years with an executive that we can't recall with a snap election, right? They don't want us to have those kind of conversations because it represents fundamental structural reform that would lend power to Black folks. And I think at the end of the day, the fundamental question is, will the Democratic Party, as representatives of this imperialistic order, are they going to engage in good faith with Black people? Or are you at the end of the day telling us that you never really meant for us to actually get power because you're going to use the filibuster as an excuse to keep us from getting it? Brother Cliff, get the last word.
Hey, you hit it right on the head. But at the end of the day, I'll add on to what you just said. Manchin and Sinema, as much as we got to push back against them, there has not been enough discussion around how it's not just them. You got a bunch of other senators that are basically using them as cover, right? And so this ain't just a Manchin Sinema problem. This is a Democratic Senate problem. This is a Democratic White House problem. This is a Democratic Party problem. And that's not to excuse the Republicans. People sometimes say, "Oh, why are you letting the Republicans off the hook?" We're not letting them off the hook. We know who they are.
Right.
They too busy with dewormer. Bro, they too busy crapping out their intestines because of this dewormer. We can't talk to them.
That's right.
Cliff,
That's
Cliff,
right.
your podcast, your new podcast, Black Power Revisited. Where can people get the first couple of episodes of that?
Yeah, you can check me out. I got the links on my Twitter. Go to Cliff_notes, and you can get the links there. You can go to the link tree there. You go to my website, cliffalbright.com, and you can get the links to the podcast as well as some videos and the video that you were just showing and some other videos as well. And so go to CliffAlbright.com. Check me out on Twitter, Cliff_notes, and you can check out the podcast, which will soon be featuring none other than Benjamin Dixon.
Yes, indeed.
And that's why I like the podcast format, because we could just run on and on and on and on as long as our heart's content. But we're out of time this morning, and thank you, brother, for being willing to come here, because you stay on those streets and you are you're causing good trouble, man. So we want to continue to support you in any way we can. Brother Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Voters Matter, DJ Exclusive. Take us to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to close it out with just some Black joy. We'll be right back after this.
Appreciate you, Cliff. Thank you so much, sir. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. We're going to wrap up real quick. I ain't going to tell you. We'll see. I'm feeling the Mashana or not. Hey, man, make sure that y'all hit that like button, y'all. If you have not already... if you have not become a patron already, patreon.com/likeItOrNot, patreon.com/likeItOrNot, and become a patron today. I can't talk, I can't drink my coffee. Jesus! My Tuesday is becoming a Monday, and my Monday is becoming a Tuesday. It's like the snozberries taste like snozberries. And then make sure that y'all stay tuned and hit that like button, man. Shout out to everybody on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you're streaming from, man. Good morning to you, and stay tuned.
Come on, man. Try to block my heart blessing, but no need for comparisons. What's from me won't be from me. Yeah, I'ma go.
Justice, good morning, Justice.
But pay me what you owe me for, I make what you've been saying about me true. Tell them I need my money right now. Promise you stay stole out my crown. Sorry.
Every time I hear the song, I think about, it's my money and I want it now.
I'm gonna recoup. Don't waste my loyalty. I'll let you in back then because
I forgot the name of that the dang on people.
You ain't never been true to me. My intuition ain't never lied. I had to leave. Handle your business. Do what you think you need to do to get
Tyler, thank you for your super chat. Tyler says, love Cliff. Appreciate all the love in here. Greatly appreciate you, Tyler, man. Why do melons have weddings? Why do melons have weddings? They cantaloupe.
I'ma go through just to grow through. Pay me what you owe me for.
David, I didn't put any in there. I did not, brother. I think I did, but I can't remember what it was. Y'all don't get it. Cantaloupe, can't elope, cantaloupe. No, okay, cool. Susan says, "Give me my money right now." 877 cash now. Man, why do y'all influence me? Y'all know I don't have no sense, man. Y'all know I ain't got no sense. All right, y'all. All right, welcome back to the screen. Brother from another mother. I told y'all I cannot talk today. Jesus.
What's up, buddy?
It's Ben.
No, I'm not on a break, Benjamin. It's Ben and Benjamin.
Ben and Ben.
Come on over. What do you need? What's up? Is everything okay?
Yeah, I want to tell you something funny.
Okay, you have to tell me.
Yes. I love it. Yes.
Y'all go out. So my time is coming to an end a little sooner than later. I'm gonna have to text message my beloved Jada to come and get who I'm calling. I'm starting affectionately to call chitterlings. Come get my chitterling. No, I'm joking.
The chitterlings. The chitterlings, dude. What you saying? They stink?
Actually, have you seen Tales from the Crypt?
Oh, hell yeah.
No, Tales from the Hood. Tales from the Hood.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Remember what he called the black dudes at it? Well, can't say it on air.
The little dolls.
Yeah. Remember what he called them? See, that's kind of what I kind of call, my kids. Not.
I'm trying to remember.
I'll tell you in the after party.
Did it start with a J?
No, it starts with an N.
You know.
So we can't say it in public.
You know.
But I affectionately refer to my kids as my chitterlings.
Your chitterlings. Chitterlings. There we go.
They're my chitterlings. I don't like chitlins. I ain't gonna call them my chitlins because those things. Chitterlings are the like. Because this is how. So I got. I mean, obviously it's spelled chitterlings. That's how chitlins is spelled, right?
Right.
But I picked that up from Tyler Perry back when Madea would just say chitterlings, right? And so when I met my wife, we met at this HBCU roundup kind of happy hour thing that we were attending in, and I don't know, I just went with it, and I asked her if she liked chitterlings, and man, she started giggling so hard, bro. That's when I knew I was in there. So the rest is history.
And you probably said it just like that. Do you like chitterlings?
Yeah, I said it just like that. We were having fun. You see, what you got to do is you got to mix it up because they had trap. It's an HBC roundup, so you had everything from Frankie Beverly all the way to trap music or whatever was the analog of trap music back in 2008, right? And so you got to mix it up. You got to switch it up. So I decided, let me catch her off guard and be as proper as I could. And I said, do you like chitterlings? And yeah. Well, 10 years later in a pandemic, we got 3 kids. So it obviously worked.
Clearly, she liked chitterlings.
And now we have our chitterlings. We got a clip. He says, so David saying we have, actually, no, the clip that I want, David, is the one of the mother who's making she just lost it. There is a clip. I know I wanted to close with Black Joy, but now we're talking about families. There's an unvaxxed mom lashing out at a judge who suspended her parental rights. Now we covered a portion of that during On the Clock with Georgia Ford, but I want to play that clip again because there's a little bit more from that I want to squeeze out of it, because I just really cannot imagine something in political science that we call rational actors. I think it's clear that we're not dealing with rational actors anymore, because not only have they suspended with their sense of self-preservation for themselves, they want the permission to be able to put their children's lives at risk and dare us to say anything about it. And as a result, a mother who only had partial custody of her 11-year-old child has lost custody, any custody rights, because she refuses to get the vaccine. And this child is not old enough to get the vaccine themselves. That's the rub. So here's the problem. Here's the dilemma that we're facing. A mother who refuses to get the vaccine, who is saying that I have the right to see my child. That is my child. But that child cannot get the vaccine themselves. And we're in a full-blown pandemic. Should a parent be able to put their child's life at risk? Let's take a look at the clip.
It may be a first-of-its-kind case. A Cook County judge here at the Daly Center has stripped a Chicago mom of her parenting rights because she's refused to get the COVID vaccine.
And he is a very sweet boy. He's my whole world.
You miss him?
I miss him more than anything.
Rebecca Furlet has been divorced for 7 years and shares custody of her 11-year-old son with her ex-husband. What had been a 50-50 split in parenting time. But on August 10th, in an unrelated child support hearing, Cook County Judge James Shapiro asked Furlet whether she'd been vaccinated. When she told the judge no because she's had bad reactions to vaccines in the past, Judge Shapiro stripped Furlet of all of her parenting time until she agrees to get vaccinated.
I think that it's wrong. I think that it's dividing families, and I think that it's not in my son's best interest to be away from his mother.
Furlet is now asking the appellate court to stay the judge's order. Her attorney saying the judge has overstepped his authority.
And you have to understand, the father did not even bring this issue before the court. So it's the judge on his own making this decision that you can't see your child until you're vaccinated.
We just wanted the mother to pay support.
The father's attorney, Jeffrey Leving, says while they were surprised by the order, he believes the judge is making the right call, given the seriousness of the pandemic.
And there are children that have died because of COVID. I think every child should be safe. And I agree that the mother should be vaccinated.
Leving believes the judge is breaking new ground that could play out in other custody cases as well. No word on when the appellate court will.
All right. James, a lot going on there, man. What you think?
I really think it's more to it. So it almost sounds like she's out here in them streets And the judge is saying, okay, you've been out here in these streets, but have you gotten vaccinated yet? Because it just seems like it's more to that. I don't see that the judge just going to say, are you vaccinated? And then strip her parental rights away. I really think it's some more stuff that's going on that nobody is saying, that because that makes no sense. I really do. But shout out to that judge though. Like David said, like there's a backstory of some kind. Like she's done some stuff that, you know, the judge is saying, okay, looking at your record, have you been vaccinated? Because like I said, going through the stuff that we went through with my niece, we've seen how I've seen how the judges move and some of those attorneys move, at least down here in Georgia, in that county. So I really think it's more to it that she got that stripped away from her because she's not vaccinated.
Yeah, James.
She out there in the streets, bro.
I think you nailed that actually. Like, yeah, I missed that part because check it out. Like, if you are a person who believes that they should not get the vaccine for whatever reason, then we have to ask the question, one, why Jeremiah is so loud in the background, right? And then number two, you have to ask yourself the question, are you taking the necessary precautions to ensure that you are protecting yourself and your child? Because there are literally some people who cannot get the vaccine because of a specific condition that would put them at risk. And those people are probably doing everything that they possibly can to protect their children by not going out. Absolutely. You're right, James. That's exactly what's not being said in this story.
Yeah. It's some more to it. Like the judge probably then found out some information, then done a little digging himself because they will do that. And he didn't find some shit out and just like, okay, you got vaccinated yet? No? Okay, cool. Going with daddy.
Because that's a guarantee. Like if whatever her day-to-day life is, if it takes her into public and she is not only not getting vaccinated, but she's also refusing to wear a mask, or even to acknowledge that the pandemic is real, because let's be honest, she might very well be one of those people who go to these city council meetings and start saying their little shaman, whatever kind of chants they were doing, right? She might be one of those people in the crowd. So of course she is going to be a literal threat to the life of her child. And so James, it's not even a question to you. You're saying, do you believe that this individual should not be able to put their child's life at risk by refusing to get the vaccine and by being in public and being in those kind of spaces where you're guaranteed to get it?
Exactly. Especially then if her son has to go back to the father, who I'm guessing is probably vaccinated, or maybe not, or maybe can't get the vaccine, and give it to him or any other of his family members. So to me, honestly, she just gives that she in the streets. That's all I'll say. Give me
I concur.
Smoky eyeliner and everything, the blonde thinning hair. I'm just saying. That's all I say about that.
I've got no comment.
Because that's, you know what? Let me stop. Let me
solidarity,
after party.
You know, yeah.
Because I'm about to go win. Because my mama know I'm about to go win. Let me stop.
Yes, we're gonna handle the rest of that one in the after party because I know exactly what you mean.
Yes, man.
And all essential workers should, you know, honestly, whatever your essential work is, you should be, you should protect yourself. Right, if you can, and most people can. Most of human, we would not be able to have a science. Let me choose my words carefully because there are examples in history where science has been used abusively, right? But we're in an era where science is sound and people are following reason and logic and truth. And we have an opportunity to resolve this thing through science, but there is a population amongst us who just refuse to accept it. And that's fine. If you want to kill yourself like Phil Valentine and these conservative pastors who believe their lies so much that they want to die, so be it. But I think as a society, we can interject and say, no, you will not do that to even your children, because as a community, as a tribe of humans, we have a responsibility to your child, especially when you are seeking for the opportunity to harm them by refusing to get the vaccine and by being in public spaces Yeah, James, you nailed that.
Yeah. And Libra in the chat said, come on, Bubba, just last week you was against the mandatory vaccine and passports and stood your ground. What? That was against mandatory vaccines. I said it's your choice. That's what I said. So make sure that we keep up with my point, Libra. Come on. It is. I don't believe in this.
Don't misrepresent the man's argument.
Don't represent the man. If you're going to say it, get it all out there and say it right, bro.
Put some respect on his argument.
Put some respect on my name. That's all I'm saying. So make sure, like I said, no, I am against mandatory vaccinations just because you don't know what's going on in someone's life. That's what I'm talking about. But it's your decision. But like this brother Ben just said, if you want to take that risk and you want to kill yourself, that's on you. But what you won't do is put my child or my niece or my nephew at risk.
Wait a minute.
What's going to happen is that. You see what just popped up too, right?
Put him on the screen. This man said, end your show.
It's Pascal.
End your show so that you can go to
Pascal.
What's up, party people? How y'all feeling?
What do you call a fibbing line? A fibbing cat thing, and I messed it up. Shit.
I took off for the other conversation, man.
I messed it up. Look, I messed it up. Dang, never mind.
Hey, so Pascal, I'm taking you're going to have this conversation on your show in the next few minutes. What part of the conversation are you going to pick up on?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I'm actually doing a big interview on my show today.
Okay.
But
yeah,
this is a very good question that I'd like to bring up for the end of the show for a call-in segment. So to kind of like,
this would be yes. This would be the perfect space. Yes. Now, do you have the call-in set up on your channel yet? You're doing the call-ins?
Yes. So I'll be doing a call-in later on. After the interview and all that.
So maybe they can answer that question on your call-in hour. What's the question because I honestly don't think parents should be able to listen, do what you want to do, but when it comes to your children, I think we as a community, that's my position. And I think that would be something great to hear from the audience on.
Yeah, I think it's really important that if you're going to be out there, you know what I'm saying? Like, as James said, sheep for the streets. She had me as she for the streets, but anyway,
you can't tell me. Okay.
Anyway,
we know where we can find her.
If you out there, you know what I'm saying. If you're out there going around doing,
and we appreciate them, we put them through college. Go ahead.
Right. But I mean, no, as a parent, right, you have a certain amount of responsibility, especially if you're going to be out there. You're not staying at home. You're not doing your work from home. You're being active. You're being out there. You're doing your thing, whatever it might be. It could be work. It could be play. Whatever. You should take responsibility as far as getting the poke or not getting the poke. Right. You should be leaning towards getting the poke because obviously, still, no matter what, that's still you're playing roulette. You're playing roulette with your kids, especially. You're bringing that back to your kid. The kid's going to school. He's spreading that stuff out to the other kids. Next thing you know, you got a huge ass outbreak, and it's messy. It's really, really messy. So So I saw you guys talking about that, and I was like, "Oh, let me jump on really quick."
My man,
and say hi.
Listen, we're gonna go ahead because I also took that as the Sandman coming across the Apollo stage saying your time is up. Because me and Pascal, we were talking about, listen, man, like we are supposed to end our show at 10 o'clock and then go behind the paywall for our patrons. And Pascal's show starts at 10 o'clock, but we be having so much fun, we just run over.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? That's why you guys have one of the best shows out here. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, we trying to get on your level, you know.
Flattery would get you everywhere, brother.
Everywhere, bro.
Well, with that said, wait, Pascal, before we go, and it might be too much to ask here, but I want to get because you be having some great content, man. I want you to send over your like a promo for your show and maybe the introduction to your show, because what I want to start doing is I want to end our show with the opening to your show so that we could do what we're supposed to do. We're going to go behind our paywall, patreon.com/like it or not.
Yeah.
And everyone else we want them to come over there and support you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can send that to you, no doubt. I would love to be able to try to make that a cohesive
cross-pollination is what I like to call it.
Cross-pollination. Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
That said, Pascal, James, David in the background. Shout out to Rebecca, and shout out to the people of Haiti. Pascal, we got these pictures. We're going to share them with you. Shout out to Dr. Mack, who was not able to join us today because he is probably out there on 18-hole Baptist Church. But I get it, and I love it. Georgia Ford on the clock and the entire team. James, take us out of here. And everybody go see Pascal.
Real quick, Pascal.
Yeah. No.
What does a nosy pepper do?
No, James. No.
What does a nosy pepper do?
What is a what
does a nosy pepper do?
I don't know, man.
It gets jalapeno business.
Three bald men walked into the stream. I'll see y'all next time.
Jalapeno business.
Why, James? Why?
Wow.
Love y'all, mean it, man. Make sure that y'all slide over to the Brother Pascal show and stay tuned and check him out, y'all. As usual, we will see y'all in the morning. Sometimes I crack myself up. Y'all don't realize and understand. Love y'all, man. Meaning to see y'all tomorrow. Deuces.
Say it again, say it again. You want my forgiveness, so say it again. You're my thunder, my darkest night. You just can't go back and make it right. 'Cause it's too late. Your time is up. Damage done and now it's stuck. 'Cause it's too late. You roll the
Deuces, y'all. I will see y'all tomorrow morning. Enjoy your Tuesday.
My soul got the same on my necklace. proper play and teach you something. Got my stones on Himalaya, no, I'm out your sucker ducking. Ain't no need for that discussion. Bluffing with the game. About to build a couple million, came with nothing but my name. I'ma twist it, flip it, stick it like a bop it. Tell them stop it, all them haters out of pocket. Let me plug it like a socket, baby. Big on the stairs, what they said, part. So I skip straight ahead to the bread part. Top out, I'm cool on the chick check. With the kid, know I got the gift paid. Big on the stairs, what they said, part. So I skip straight ahead to the bread part. Top out, I'm cool on the chick check. With the kid, know I got the gift paid.
Tell me, can you slide for a real one?
Slide for me, slide for me.
Can you slide for a real one?
Can you slide for me, slide for me?
Can you slide for a real one? Can you slide for Baby, say I'm making nervous. Maybe cause I'm real on the surface. Maybe cause I'm 10 down where the turf is. Don't get lost in those facades on the guys. You know ain't nobody perfect. I just put the work in, I know what my worth is. I'm living lavish, I'm flossing, bossing a bag and up cash off the passion. Out here with my niggas, AV to the casket. We reckless, stay in your lane. I'm on gas till somebody cut the brakes. Cutting off these haters in the heads of the snakes. We're spinning the plan, but you catching on late. And she just sent the emoji, said she wetter than a lake. So I better not flake, take a break, say word. Hit me when you through with that, then we can shift again, my schedule been clear. These niggas see me, they mad like I'm one of their peers. I put that on Sita, so I'm sure it's abundantly clear. I'm hella big on the set, what I said. Eyes low off the legal and the red whip. Put the leg room and the roof gone. Man, I came a long way from them deals off the Groupon. Right?
Big on the stairs, what they said, part. So I skip straight ahead to the bread part. Top out, I'm cool on the chick check. Fuck with the kid, know I got the gift paid. Big on the stairs, what they said, part. So I skip straight ahead to the bread part. Top out, I'm cool on the chick check. Fuck with the kid, know I got the gift paid.
Keep it real with you, I've been in a fielding position. Yeah. I've been trail, you could tell by how I feel when you with me. Yeah. Tell me, can you slide for me?